In the middle of a trade war with China, yes, the one that is still going on, President Trump is now threatening another trade war, this one with Mexico, all because of immigration. Trump now is promising a 5% tariff to set in on all goods coming from Mexico starting in June 10th. One of the industries that could be the hardest hit, U.S. automakers. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich is in New Jersey taking a look at the fallout and what this actually will mean when we're talking about U.S. automakers. Vanessa, what are you hearing about this?
Hi, Kate. Yeah, that's right. A trade group representing the biggest U.S. automakers are saying this morning that these tariffs could have a significant impact on the U.S. auto industry. Companies like Ford, Chrysler, GM not only get their parts from Mexico, but they also assemble their vehicles there and import them here to the United States as well. Today, we're at Frank Pizzola's dealership here in Lyndhurst, and he says his biggest selling vehicle, is from Mexico, and he is concerned these new tariffs will have a significant impact on his business and with his employees.
Well, if you're a consumer looking to buy one of these nice SUVs, how would you feel about a 5% increase in price? I mean, it's going to be tough. 25% increase would probably be a disaster. I don't know how we would deal with that. Yeah, we have 115 employees that depend on us and depend on us selling these vehicles. So I am concerned, and I don't want to see them affected in a bad way.
This comes after a tough year for U.S. automakers who have had slumping auto sales, record layoffs, and also those tariffs on aluminum and steel. And Kate, one auto industry analyst is warning that if these tariffs do go into effect, U.S. vehicles sold here in the United States could go up by about $1,300 per vehicle. And Kate, that is no small fee for the American consumer. Kate?
No, not at all. Vanessa, thanks so much. It's great to get some perspective from on the ground. I really appreciate it. So joining me right now for some more perspective, Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign, Mark Lauder. Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me back.
So the president says tariffs are going to set in on Mexico if the country doesn't stop illegal migrants from making the way to the United States. What does he actually want Mexico to do? I mean, what is the position of the campaign on this? That Mexico should stop all illegal immigration to stop these tariffs from setting in?
Well, and it's the position of the White House and of the president that Mexico do more. It's important that we remember that the 100,000 plus migrants who are coming up to our country illegally, mostly from Central America, have to go through Mexico first to get here.
But
Mexico
what is more?
has very
That's one thing I
strict
don't get
immigration laws, and they could enforce those.
I don't get what is more, though. Like, that's not clear right now.
Well, right now, I mean, they can do more to secure their own southern border to stop the migrants coming from Central America through Mexico to eventually transit to the United States. They could stop more. I mean, we've seen the story. You've shown the video of the 1,000.
Is it clear to you how to measure it?
Well, we can work on doing that. We also just need to see the activity. I mean, we saw just earlier this week 1,000 people cross from Juarez, Mexico into El Paso, the single biggest migrant in one day. It's impossible to think that Mexico didn't see that 1,000 people were massing on that border before they crossed over, and they didn't do anything to stop it, or they didn't do anything to break up that group in the 1,000-mile trek that they made from Central America to the United States. So there is things that Mexico can do. We want to see them do more, and that's what the president is saying. Look, for too long, American foreign policy has been based on pleas and a prayer. Please do something, and we pray you're going to honor it and do it. That's not what has happened, and this is a president who believes in doing it with action and having there be consequences if you're not actually working in good faith to help us.
Right, but actions, and then what are the real consequences? Because is it the position then of the president and the campaign that weakening the Mexico economy through these tariffs, which could go even higher if they set in, is going to somehow help stop illegal immigration? Because that's what a good economy here and a bad economy down there is what has driven a lot of people north.
ultimately, I think what Mexico needs to understand is how serious the president is about dealing with the national security, the immigration crisis that's taking place. They know that they can do more. That is in with their power to be able to do more. The president's talked about it in the past.
I hear you, but do you accept that? Will you accept that, though, Mark? Will you accept that? Is it the position of the campaign that you believe that a worse-off Mexico economy is going to somehow stop the flow of illegal immigration north?
Well, what I'm hoping is that Mexico will use the 2 weeks before these tariffs come into effect, or they work quickly to have them removed so we don't have to continue to escalate this, and we can work to stop the crisis of illegal immigration coming across the border. This is entirely in Mexico's hands. They can decide when the tariffs start, if the tariffs start, how high they go, and when they come off.
That does not seem to be the position of Republicans, more than one Republican. Republicans like Chuck Grassley, who largely stand with the president on many issues, he says trade policy and border security are separate issues. This is a misuse of presidential tariff authority. How is Chuck Grassley wrong?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Chairman Grassley, but in this case, we have seen too often in the past that requests from the United States for our allies, our friends, our neighbors around the world in dealing with something have been agreed to verbally and then not backed up with actual action. This is a president who believes in dealing from a position of strength. He understands that this is something that Mexico, they understand now how serious he is about this. And this is what those emergency economic powers are designed to do. So president of any party can act in accordance with national security, national interest, especially when our economic interests are challenged.
This is an important thing. Let's talk about the other trade war with China. The president says all the time that China's paying for the tariffs. U.S. consumers and businesses are not getting hit because of it. We know that factually that is not true. But I recently spoke with a farmer in Ohio. He voted for the president in 2016. His name's Christopher Gibbs. This is what he says now.
Well, we're in a free fall out here in agriculture. We've seen 30% decrease in prices of soybeans. Why the farming community has to take one in the shorts just so that the president can have a talking point and be tough on China, just is a little bit beyond me.
His name's Christopher Gibbs. He's from Ohio. You've now lost his vote. What do you say to him?
Well, I would tell him that in using his own terms, American farmers, American workers have been taking it in the shorts, to use his phrase, for too long. And too many presidents of both parties in the past have promised to fix it but not done anything. This is one of those issues that long term our economy will be stronger when we can get China to the table to deal with the unfair trade practices, the theft of intellectual property, and so many other practices that have been widely condemned by presidents and leaders of both sides. And what I would say to him is that while we're dealing with these issues, we're doing it from a very strong economy. The Chinese are being forced to lower their prices, to adjust for these tariffs. They are the ones that are having to subsidize their state-run industries to a greater extent to try to offset it. And we see it in the numbers. The inflation issues are still not a problem. Prices are not going up faster than paychecks. So the American people can deal with this from a position of strength. And hopefully China will work with us in good faith to be able to bring a resolution to this so we can deal with both countries fairly, reciprocally, and also do it from a position where our technology is not being stolen from us and then used as an economic weapon against us.
I hear that is your position, but Christopher Gibbs will say that you are wrong. He says he is in a free fall right now, and that if it continues on much longer, he doesn't even know what's going to happen. I will definitely have him back on and hear what he has to say about that and see if somehow that wins back his vote. Let's continue the conversation, though, Mark. Thanks for coming in. Mark Lauder from the Trump campaign.
Thanks,
Mark. Coming up,